Hey English 102 online students, welcome to week 14 of our course. The end of the semester is just around the corner. We're just a few weeks away, so definitely hang in there. You're doing great, and don't forget about completing all of your assignments and submitting them on time. We've just made it through our critical response essays, so you should have seen my feedback on those by now by checking my grades. For the annotated bibliographies, those will be coming in the next couple of days, so make sure you're checking out my grades to look for comments and grades for those. Okay, so this week we're going to be starting to phase out of the smaller homework assignments and now moving into a few more of the major writing projects. Actually, we're working towards the one big major writing project at the end. And so a good way to guide us through this, I'm going to go ahead and open the announcement that you're going to be receiving by email shortly. And you'll see kind of my explanation through the last few steps that we need to complete before we reach the end of the semester. So you'll see that I've got one assignment that's listed here due by Sunday, November 22nd by 11:59. So the main thing you're going to be working on this week, and if you check our course calendar, you'll see the same thing over here. I'll scroll all the way down to week 14. So your main task this week is to work on the draft of your problem solution research report. And this is the assignment that you've been working towards the entire semester. So if you remember back to the curiosity essay you did in the beginning, you were just kind of fishing around, thinking about different ideas, topics that you feel passionate about. As you moved into the research phase through many of our homework assignments that you completed after that, you started to think, okay, is this topic for me? Do I want to take it in a different direction? What do my classmates, my instructor think about it? So you were able to refine it and kind of think about it in some new ways. As we moved into the critical response essays, your task there was to find an argumentative essay about your topic and evaluate the arguments presented in that article. How convincing, how strong they were, and to give evidence of that. So that's what we just finished up with. The annotated bibliography is kind of like your works cited or your references page, depending on which style you've chosen to work with this semester. It's like the final page of your problem solution research report. So ideally, most, if not all, of the sources that you chose for your annotated bibliography, of course, depending on the feedback I give to you, most or all of them hopefully will end up in the final paper that you write, because all of the assignments that you do throughout this course are meant to build upon each other. Even for the critical response essays, if you have a paragraph that you would like to use from that, because you're going to be citing that source you used for the critical response essay in your final problem solution research report, you can definitely borrow a paragraph from there. Maybe part of the introduction would work in your final paper. So the idea is that you're really, building up to this final project that you've assembled different pieces for throughout the entire semester. And you're coming up with this really professional, expertise-based finished product. That's our goal in this English 102 course. Okay, so now that you know your main task for next week is the draft of your problem solution research report, let's go ahead to the final module folder and I'll show to you where you can see those guidelines. Hopefully you had a chance to at least take a glance at them last week, since I gave you the instructions about where to find everything, just to get a head start. But we'll go ahead and look through these together. Okay, so going into course modules all the way down to our final module. It's hard to believe we're already here. Okay, so as you see, our due dates are here. The draft of your paper is due next week on Sunday. Assignment 9.1, that's going to be the peer review of the draft. So you're going to be assigned to a partner or to a small group in the class. I'll give you instructions about where to find your group or partner, and we did the same thing for the curiosity exploration essay in the beginning of the semester, so it'll be a very similar procedure. And then you'll be doing a research presentation and a final version of your paper due on the last day of the semester, Monday, December 7th. Okay, so for the problem solution research report, the main thing that we're going to be looking at here today is the assignment guidelines and sample essays that you see right here, where you see major assignment 4. And then problem solution research report draft. This is the Turnitin link to submit your assignment next Sunday. So that's all we're going to address in the video this week. Next week, I'll talk about the peer review and give you more details on the research presentation and the final version of your paper. So we'll save those items for next week. However, you're welcome to look ahead at any of those links here in this folder just to kind of get a head start and to know what's coming. So you'll see the peer review is right here. You'll get a chance to preview the directions. The research presentation, of course, going back to the peer review, you're not going to be assigned to anybody yet. That comes after you submit your draft this coming Sunday. So you can look at the instructions, but there's nothing you can actually do for assignment 9.1 until everybody's draft is turned in. The research presentation, you can definitely go ahead and take a look at the sample presentation. It's an in-person presentation done in a classroom with 2 students. I believe it's at like the University of Hong Kong maybe. But the PowerPoint that they use and the way they present their information is a great model for you to follow. So I definitely recommend taking a look at that presentation. And the other thing that you'll see here is the guidelines for what you need to include in your presentation. You'll also see a video here about how to record a presentation in Collaborate Ultra. Blackboard Collaborate Ultra is what I use for virtual office hours, so you're going to get a chance to record a presentation in there based on your research topic. It's really, really easy to use. It's probably the easiest piece of technology you'll use while you're in college. But next week I will go over how to put your presentation into Blackboard Collaborate so that I can view it and evaluate it. And you'll actually do that at this link right here. That's where you'll record your research presentation. But again, you'll learn more about it next week. And then the link to submit the final version of your paper is down here. So for now, we'll just go back to the problem solution research report guidelines. I'm going to open that up and we're going to take just a quick look through it. Okay, so in the overview section, it tells you what a problem solution research report is. You're investigating a problem, looking at different solutions, and trying to persuade your audience that your solutions are, in fact, the best ones, and also that your problem is a real problem and that it exists and it needs to be addressed. So those are the 2 main things you're going to be addressing in your paper. Your audience will be me and your fellow classmates, because at least one person other than me will be giving comments to your paper, so keep that in mind as you put your draft together. Okay, so your purpose is to define a problem and propose a solution to it and convince readers that your proposed solutions will solve the problem. Okay, so under getting started in pre-writing, all of our assignment guidelines follow kind of a similar structure. So yes, you've done a lot of research on your chosen topic by the time you start to write this paper, but these are some questions that'll kind of help you organize your thoughts. So some examples of the problem, why it's a problem, think of reasons in support of that, what evidence you can use to support those reasons, look at all the sources that you've collected in your bibliography, any others that you might not have included in your bibliography. How does the problem affect you or others? What might happen if we don't do something to solve this problem? What are the solutions to the problem and why would those work? What evidence can you use to support those? Is anything going to get in the way of making your solution work? Who might object to it? You'll need to include a counter argument from people who might not agree with your solution. So that's important to consider too. And what's the most important reason we might need to address this issue? So that might end up going into your conclusion. Underneath here, I've given you an organization or essay outline that you can follow. So you have an introduction section with the 3 components that we're used to seeing in a research paper: an attention getter, background information that just describes the situation in a more general sense to the reader before you get into the details and the body paragraphs, and your thesis. This past week, you worked on creating a thesis statement in assignment 8.1. I'll be giving feedback to those thesis statements, so that should really help you come up with a good thesis statement to put into your draft. You can look at my feedback to help you out with that. Okay, causes of the problem should be the next section of your paper. effects of the problem. So the problem exists. Who is it affecting and how? Okay, solutions to the problem. This section should be longer than any other. So, what kinds of solutions have been proposed? How did they work out? Had they been successful or not? Any other solutions proposed for the future? And as it tells us in letter C, it would be acceptable for you to make assumptions and offer an opinion or recommend a course of action in addition to those offered by authoritative sources. So you can, in your solution section, let's say you have one solution that's proposed by one of your sources, by an expert in that area, but you might propose another solution that comes from your own thinking, that comes from just your own brain. It doesn't necessarily have to be supported by an outside source. So we definitely want to see your ideas in there too. Okay, in the conclusion, what mainly can you draw from your research? What does the whole body of research tell you about the issue you've investigated and how we can solve it? So the conclusion that will serve you best is one that briefly pulls together the main points of your essay and reinforces your thesis. So putting your thesis in other words. Okay, so we're definitely going to be restating the problem and the proposed solution. And what do you want your reader to know for the future? Okay, what's going to happen after you've written this paper? What other areas of investigation are there? How should people be thinking about this issue after you finish talking about it? It's kind of like a call to action. Okay, sample essays, I've got a couple of them there posted back in the final module folder. I'll go back and point those out to you in just a moment. As far as assignment requirements and other details, the final version of your paper is 6 to 7 pages in the typical format of the style that you've chosen. If it's MLA or APA style, you should still have double-spaced text, 12-point Times New Roman font. The only differences between those two styles is the document format, where you put your name and course name and things like that, page numbers. Those are a little bit different. And of course you have templates that you can refer to. If you go to the general course documents folder in My Classroom, you can begin with a template and adjust it to your needs. Also, the sample essays will give you a good place to start with adjusting the format of your paper. Okay, the first draft, this is important for next Sunday. The first draft of your paper must be at least half of the required final length, or a minimum of 3 pages. So if you want to do just 3 pages, that's fine. If you want to do all 6 to 7 pages, that's also fine. You'll get more feedback that way. If you want to just work on the introduction and several body paragraphs, and that gets you to 3 pages, that's fine. If you don't have a conclusion yet, for example, that's fine. As long as you have a minimum of 3 pages, you have what you need for next week. Okay, so you must include a works cited page with a minimum of 5 citations of outside sources in MLA or APA format. And these sources must be correctly cited within the body of your essay. So you need to make sure you have in-text citations and works cited or reference citations at the end of your paper. Hey, at least 3 of your sources must be reliable academic sources like those we've discussed in class, like books, peer-reviewed academic journal articles, magazines, newspapers, articles, ebooks, and you've been looking for those throughout the semester, so you should be familiar with that already. The other 2 sources can include other reliable internet sources like organizational academic websites, documentary films. It could be a TED Talk. Films on Demand is another great library database for finding media sources about your topic. If you need more than 5 sources, feel free to go ahead and use more than 5. And that's the reason that I ask you to do 6 for your bibliography, because it's always good to have more than what you need. Okay, everything has to be submitted and turn it in at the link in the final module folder. And as far as due dates, they're all listed here, but you'll find them all over the place in our Blackboard course. So you know that you need your first draft, due and turn it in, at least a minimum of 3 full pages, and you need to have your citations there too as well, because you need to get feedback on those before you get to the final draft of your paper. Okay, and of course you'll have lots of time in between Sunday, November 22nd and Monday, December 7th. Between those 2 dates, You can visit the Writing Center. You'll only have a couple of days to take advantage of the Writing Center after this draft is submitted. So you could go before to get help from them to plan out your paper. You can go on the 23rd or 24th, which is a Monday and a Tuesday. Their last day is Tuesday, November 24th for in-person and online appointments because everything is moving online at Lander after the 24th. So Thanksgiving break is kind of where everybody's going to be back into online classes. So plan accordingly. If you want to go to the Writing Center, make sure you take advantage of that as soon as possible. And then Monday, December 7th, of course, is when your final essay is due. We'll do the peer review activity between those two dates. I'll be giving you my feedback between those two dates. And so you'll have lots of feedback and commentary to work with to finalize that really good product at the end. And remember that each student can request a single one-day extension to submit the final draft of an essay assignment during the semester, as long as you let me know 24 hours in advance. So in this case, if you needed an extra day for your final project, it would be by Sunday, December 6th, you would need to let me know, and then you could take until Tuesday, December 8th, if you need to submit it one day late. Okay, so that is everything you need to know for the draft. And we'll talk about the other components coming up in next week's video. I think it's a lot to talk about in one video. So we'll split this up into different video presentations. So next week, you'll learn more about the peer review assignment. You'll learn about the research presentation and where to submit the final version of your paper. And that'll be your last video for this semester. So that's it for this week. Please let me know if you need anything. Send me an email, drop by my virtual office hours, or schedule a time that works best for both of us. And I'll be more than happy to help you. So I hope you have a great week.